Welcome back, Honors. That's right, Pat Miller, you heard me. Now, this has been the first flip in a little while, and I heard Mr. Fisher, right? Lucy Fisher's dad was looking forward to one of these, so I'm shouting you out, Mr. Fisher. What's up? Today is going to be a little bit of a longer flip, so you guys need to go ahead and buckle in for this bad boy, because we got to talk about why ancient Rome falls, okay? So let me go ahead and make my face a little bit smaller because it's not necessarily about seeing me. It's about hearing me more than anything else, right? So I'd like to believe that it's the other way around, but, you know, it happens to the best of us. So where's my presentation, though? Where'd you go? Okay, what happened to... Oh, here we go. So, sorry about that. Now, we got to talk about why ancient Rome fell. Well, when we're getting into it, ancient Rome fell due to 4 specific causes, right? Now I'm going to give you examples of each of those causes, okay? But the big 4 are civil unrest, right? And we're talking about civil unrest, we mean unrest amongst the people of Rome, okay? Their military prowess is also going to be a reason why they're going to begin to fall. There are going to be economic reasons why they begin to fall, and then political reasons as well why they begin to fall. So those 4 reasons are the reasons behind them. Now, this is not a perfect presentation, so I forgot to put the titles of the categories in some of the different sections. So you need to be listening to pay attention when I actually go through these different 4 categories, right? But let's go ahead and keep going. Now, the first one, civil unrest, right? So frequent rebellions amongst the common people of Rome are going to begin to break out. A lot of them have to do for different reasons. For example, taxation, expansion of the empire. Some of the outer rim, like empire areas, felt that they weren't represented and protected by the Roman military. They were also rebelling against different groups, things like that, right? So very different, like a lot of different reasons, right? Now, slave revolts is going to be a massive one as well that we're going to talk about here in about 2 seconds, right? So anyway, slave revolts is one. The most famous of all these slave revolts, which actually happened under Caesar, and it was a kind of a showing of the cause of civil unrest, was Spartacus and the Third Servile War, right? So civil wars also are going to be a massive part of civil unrest. Civil wars were typically fought between dictators and senators, but sometimes they were also fought between outer area barbarian tribes that were brought into the empire that weren't agreeing to taxation and weren't agreeing to the political structure that was set down by the Roman Empire. For example, they were upset that they didn't receive citizenship, right? So anyway, but let's keep on going. Now, the Third Servile War is a very fun story to tell, but do not write this. Just listen to this cool story, right? Listen to this cool story. So Spartacus was actually a gladiator, right? Spartacus was a gladiator, and he was actually trained in northern Italy, right? So he escaped in 73 BC along with 200 other... Let me make sure it's 200. For some reason, I feel like it's not. Wait, where'd I go? Oh, that's a picture of Spartacus. I love that picture. Anyway, so bang. Third Servile War. Yeah, thought it was 200. All right, anyway, so just double checking. I didn't want to lead you astray. So anyway, the Third Servile War escaped with 200 different slaves, and he made a huge camp outside of Rome at Mount Vesuvius, the extinct volcano, right? So, Mount Vesuvius, he claims this area as his own, and he creates this encampment of escaped slaves, right? And all of the other slaves heard of this, and they were like, wait a minute, this man Spartacus, he is rebelling against the Roman Empire. We can do this too. We've been stamped on for our entire lives. A lot of other slaves were like, I like my family, and everyone's like, shut up! And like, so anyway, but 100,000 angry former slaves begin to go and support Spartacus. So Spartacus now has an army of 100,000 strong, right? Making camp around Mount Vesuvius. Actually, they're up on the outer rim of Mount Vesuvius, near where the old lava spot used to be. Now, the rebellion, though, is going to be defeat. The rebellion is going to actually, Spartacus is going to have a great amount of success when he's defeating an onslaught of Roman military campaigns towards Gaul, France, and then Pompey and Marcus Crassus, the 2 guys that were in the first triumvirate with Caesar, are going to grow an army, train them in the old ways of this thing called decimation, which is actually Latin for removing teeth, right? We talked about this in class the other day. And for Mr. Fisher, just in case you wanted to know, decimation was when, to motivate the troops of Roman military units, they would break them off into groups of 10, and if they lost a battle or they weren't working hard enough, they would make them draw straws, and the one who drew the shortest straw was actually beat either to death or almost to death by his other military correspondents because they wanted to try and show the other soldiers in the Roman Empire what happens if you don't succeed, that you will be beat to death, as in pulling teeth, right? Removing teeth. So Spartacus and his rebellion is unfortunately going to die in 71 BC, but the effects of it really show that civil unrest mode. The rebellion depleted the military resources, and it was a huge problem for them, right? So anyway, but let's keep going. These are some really cool pictures about that story that's really awesome. That is a statue of Spartacus, one of the dopest statues I've ever seen in my life. I've actually seen it before in Rome. It's very, very neat. He's like showing like he's broken the chains. He actually still has one of the chain cuffs on one of his wrists, and he's holding a broken sword in his hand, right? So that right there is where they made camp on Mount Vesuvius. So they actually didn't make camp right here around there. That was a misstatement. I'm sorry about that. They actually made camp along this upper ridge here in the back, okay? So the coolest thing about when they actually attacked a bunch of the, that's decimation. The coolest thing about it when they actually attacked a bunch of the Romans, so like you would think that the Roman military would just show up after being decimated the entire time and would just be like, oh, these are slaves. Like, I mean, we have the strength, the power. But Spartacus gained the upper ground and was actually up here along the ridge of Mount Vesuvius. He and his men at night one time, this is one specific time during the Third Servile War, when he destroyed a huge, massive amount of Roman soldiers. Spartacus destroyed all of these Roman soldiers because they actually made ropes out of vines. And at night, they rappelled down the edge of the ridge, and all the Romans were making camp down here in the bottom area, waiting to starve out Spartacus and his men. They rappelled down using these vines and then snuck up on all of them while they were sleeping and like killed an entire group of Roman soldiers, right? But unfortunately, eventually they are going to lose. But this is Crassus. That's the guy that was actually executed later on. And this guy right here is Pompey, the guys that are actually going to be the ones that destroy Spartacus' rebellion. But if you're having a gigantic 100,000 strong rebellion against you, that's a massive showing of civil unrest in your empire. Not everyone's happy all the time, right? So this didn't happen necessarily towards the end, but it's just an example of extreme civil unrest, right? So Rome's decline also is going to happen in the West as well, because there's going to be massive trouble in the Roman Empire. So barbarians are going to begin to invade. Now, just to give you a heads up what a barbarian is, underneath barbarian, write this down. So barbarian comes from the Latin root of barbar, which means to babble, which means they couldn't understand what they were saying. The only reason that Romans called barbarians barbarians because they didn't understand what they were saying, right? So outsiders began to attack. The Germanic tribes are going to be coming from the north. The Persian tribes are going to be coming from the east. And then the African people called the Berbers are going to be coming at them from the south. This is the military cause for decline, all right? Right here you can put military up here at the top above Rome's decline in the west, okay? So their military is being stretched too thin. You can't fight civil wars, servile wars, and then invaders all at the same time, right? So their military is just going to begin to be depleted, okay? So keep going, though. Rulers in Rome were unable to govern effectively, and so tyrants like Caligula and Nero are going to begin to seize control during the unrest. Citizens are going to also begin to lose a lot of respect for their government, going back to that civil unrest idea. But this is the military idea, right? There was just too much war in the Roman Empire. They couldn't fight all of it. So, continue forward, though, these are the economic, political reasons why Rome fell, right? So, the economy is going to begin to suffer in Rome, just get torched because the farms are being destroyed. The craft workers are dying in warfare. Trade is being disrupted. Parts of their empire are trying to leave. Like, their economy is going to begin to suffer, and trade is going to decline, and their money is losing value. Inflation was happening at a massive rate. And also, due to the lack of foods because of all of the wars, the price of food rose, right? Because here's the thing. If you've got somebody like Colin Bauer, and he sells apples, and he knows he's one of the only people that has apples anymore, and everybody wants apples, what's he going to do with the price? He's going to raise it, right? So the price of food began to raise. So their money is just getting torched, and the Roman Empire is going to then be split in the stupidest move on the planet. They are going to split the empire into two parts. Diocletian is the name of the emperor that is actually going to split the empire into two parts officially. This is him right here. He was also a huge jerk and a huge persecutor of Christians as well. So Diocletian came to power in 284 AD, and he divided the leadership of the empire amongst himself and one of his ruling parties. He ran the east while his trusted friend led the west, right? So this guy, though, phenomenally important, Constantine is going to be one of the leaders of the East, and he is actually going to make Christianity an accepted religion in the Roman Empire. He is going to focus his attention on the eastern part of the Roman Empire. and actually getting it up to snuff. We'll talk about this in the next unit a little bit when we lead off with the Byzantine. Okay, so he's going to make Christianity the effective religion. Constantine's going to move the capital of the empire to a place called Byzantium. But the big thing about Constantine making Christianity the official religion, stopping persecution of Christians and things like that, is in 395 AD when the empire officially split, and they actually created a dividing line and renamed each side, the East is going to grow and the Byzantine is going to prosper, while the West collapses like a souffle that you took out of the oven too quickly, right? It just goes. So anyway, very important that we also understand as well that this right here is a map of Europe, and that here is the West, here is the East, there is the division, right around Greece, okay? So Italy, the former hub of Rome, Rome itself being there, was a part of the West as it began to fall. Rome, though, why I put this down here is so important. Make sure you circle and underline that. Rome officially falls in 476 AD because in the late 300s and 400s, they needed land to escape the Huns and the Vandals and the Germanics, and they are going to begin to invade the western half, right? So now the Huns are going to come into contact with the Easterners as well, the eastern half the Roman Empire, the Byzantine, and they're going to take items, destroy monuments. The Vandals, actually, their big thing was they lived in North Africa, so they wanted to come into Rome and steal all the good stuff and burn the place down and then go back home. That's why we actually call everything in English now vandalism, just to destroy without regard, right? So by 500 AD, the Roman Empire had broken into several small kingdoms, but officially the Roman Empire in the West fell in 476 AD. Write this down and circle it. When the Ostrogoths invaded and finally crushed the remaining infrastructure left in Rome. So that is phenomenally important that you are aware of. We're going to stop here for this evening. You can go back. I know I moved quickly today. And remember, you don't have to write the whole Spartacus thing. And the irony is that some of you are going to come in with the whole Spartacus thing written down because you muted me because you're a punk like that. Don't do that, okay? You didn't have to write the Spartacus story down. It's just an example of civil unrest. So it's civil unrest, military, political, economy, right? Those are the four big reasons why Rome fell, okay? So, but that's going to be it for today. Honors, y'all learned a lot of cool stuff that not a lot of other kids get to learn, and we're going to stop there. And so we'll pick up on your study guide tomorrow, review game Monday, next test on Tuesday. I'll see you guys then.